Two Chinese satellites have just pulled off something quietly extraordinary in geosynchronous orbit. Shijian-21 and Shijian-25 separated after months of being docked together. And tracking data strongly suggests they completed a world-first refueling test 36,000 kilometers above Earth. This matters because it reveals a new way satellites can be maintained, extended, and repurposed. What makes the Shijian-21 and Shijian-25 events so compelling is how quietly they unfolded. Unlike typical space missions where agencies share regular updates, this one relied almost entirely on independent satellite tracking teams, optical telescopes, and orbital behavior analysis. Yet despite the limited official information, the evidence paints a remarkably coherent picture of a highly coordinated orbital servicing experiment. Shijian-25 began the story when it launched earlier this year, specifically to test refueling and mission extension technologies in geosynchronous orbit. Its partner in this operation, Shijian-21, had already earned attention after performing an unusual maneuver in 2022. It docked with an old navigation satellite and carried it into a graveyard orbit. That earlier mission showed that this satellite wasn't just capable of routine adjustments. It could conduct complex proximity operations and physically manipulate another spacecraft. This background is important because it establishes Shijian-21 as an ideal candidate for a refueling demonstration. Then came mid-2025, when tracking companies observed the two satellites performing a series of rendezvous and proximity operations. These are delicate maneuvers. The satellites gradually closed the distance between them until, in late June or early July, optical sensors could no longer differentiate the two. They appeared as a single point of light. That merging is one of the strongest indicators of physical docking because it means their reflective surfaces are aligned into one unified signature. For months afterward, they remained docked. And during this docked period, analysts noticed something even more intriguing. The combined spacecraft performed orbital plane change maneuvers, reducing their inclination. These movements are extremely fuel-intensive, far beyond the expected capability of a single aging satellite. The fact that these maneuvers occurred while the satellites were docked implies they had access to additional propellant, precisely what a refueling test would provide. There's a reason the space community is paying close attention to this event. Refueling a satellite in geosynchronous orbit is one of the hardest and most valuable capabilities anyone can develop. GEO is home to some of the world's most important satellites, including communication networks, weather systems, Earth observation platforms, and scientific instruments. These spacecraft often cost hundreds of millions to build and launch, and once their fuel supply runs out, their missions end. Regardless of whether the hardware is still perfectly functional. That's where orbital refueling becomes transformative. By giving a satellite new propellant, you essentially extend its life by years or even decades. Operators gain the ability to correct orbital drift, reposition satellites for new tasks, or maintain precise alignments without being limited by a fixed fuel budget. This shift from single-use to serviceable satellites reshapes the economics of space. The Shijian operation is especially important because it happened at GEO, far above where most past servicing missions have occurred. Almost all previous demonstrations, such as docking tests or robotic servicing, were conducted in low Earth orbit, which sits just a few hundred kilometers above the planet. Performing a docking maneuver in GEO requires exquisite timing and alignment. The satellites must match orbital velocity to the meter per second, then correct inclination with tiny momentum changes. The successful docking of Shijian-21 and Shijian-25 shows that China's orbital navigation, sensing, and attitude control systems are operating at a highly advanced level. Even more meaningful is what happened while they were docked. The combination performed fuel-intensive inclination change maneuvers. These changes cannot be explained by routine adjustments, especially considering Shijian-21 had already used much of its original fuel during previous towing activities. Beyond longevity, orbital refueling opens doors to mission types that were previously impractical. Imagine satellites that upgrade their own orbits, spacecraft that refuel before traveling deeper into the solar system, or older satellites repurposed to support emerging applications. In short, this demonstration signals a shift toward an era in which satellites can be maintained, extended, or repurposed rather than replaced. Now that the Shijian-21 and Shijian-25 pair has separated, analysts are already studying what their next moves might indicate. Since the satellites share a similar orbital inclination with several other Chinese spacecraft, including TJS-11, TJS-19, Yaogan-41, and Shijian-23, many observers believe these could become future servicing targets. All of them reside in or near GEO and could theoretically benefit from mission extension or repositioning. Other tracking specialists noticed something else. During parts of the operation, 2 U.S. satellites were positioned on either side of the Shijian pair. These satellites are designed for observation, so their presence shows that other space actors were monitoring the activity closely. This episode highlights a reality of modern space. GEO is becoming an increasingly active and closely watched environment. As for next steps, several scenarios are possible. One expectation is that Shijian-21 might soon demonstrate capabilities made possible only after receiving fresh propellant. That could include adjusting its position to service other satellites, performing additional proximity operations, or conducting orbit adjustments to maintain specific alignments. Every movement will be analyzed by global tracking centers to understand how much additional capability the satellite may have gained. Meanwhile, Shijian-25 could remain in GEO as a dedicated servicing craft, ready to support new tests. It might perform on-orbit inspections, docking rehearsals, or propulsion tests to evaluate long-term performance after its refueling demonstration. If multiple servicing satellites like this are launched in the coming years, we could see the emergence of a new class of space infrastructure in GEO. A key lesson here is how space operations are evolving. For decades, GEO was viewed as a region where satellites simply operated until they ran out of fuel. Now, thanks to refueling and servicing technologies, GEO is transitioning into a dynamic zone where satellites can change roles, extend missions, and adapt to new demands. This opens the possibility of more resilient space networks, reduced costs through life extension, and a more sustainable orbital environment with fewer satellite replacements. Ultimately, this event signals a shift toward a more active, serviceable, and long-term presence in geosynchronous orbit. It suggests that the space community is entering an era where satellites behave less like disposable tools and more like renewable assets groomed for longevity. What happened between Shijian-21 and Shijian-25 marks a turning point in how we think about satellites and long-term space operations. If this really was the first successful refueling test in geosynchronous orbit, it means satellites no longer have to be limited by the fuel they launch with. They can be refreshed, repositioned, and kept active far longer than ever before. It opens the door to new possibilities in communications, exploration, and orbital sustainability. This quiet experiment may one day be seen as the moment space infrastructure truly evolved into a serviceable, long-lived ecosystem supporting the next era of human progress. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more updates on space exploration and scientific discoveries, and don't forget to leave a comment below. Also, you can visit our website, spaceinews.com. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.